It's Stage Door Athletic with Jack Loxton and Rob Shaw Cameron.
I'm really excited by this.
Are you?
Yeah, like the Grand National
Is it your
is
jam?
seriously, I absolutely love it. It is so evocative of really great days of picking horses with mum and dad and my sister and now my nieces and nephews. And then our friend Lorraine would sometimes come round, and traditionally dad he would always make ham and cheese salad sandwiches, and Lorraine would bring cream cakes round, and we'd make a real afternoon of watching the Grand National. I think part of it is the legacy of there wasn't much else on telly, so like literally the whole nation was doing it now, and it was a real focal point, which it still is to a smaller degree. But yeah, I love these days.
That's very nice. I think
You?
it makes those sporting events all the more sweeter if there's some sort of like family tradition around them.
Yeah.
I as well. The Grand National and Cheltenham are very evocative in my house. To the point in which my nan, bless her, she's 90 this year. Nan, bless her, she's 90 this year. So she phoned us just and said, "Can you make sure Jack puts a bet on the Grand National for me if he's not coming over?" It's that kind of thing. And we used to do it all the time, and it was 10p's. We used to put 10 or 20p's on my. I mean, I was very little on my grandpa's knees, and if we won, then it would go to the other one. It was very, very sweet.
Yeah, it was great. I mean, in the old days, my dad would be he'd be the bookie, and we'd all write down our things. Then he'd head down to the bookies and come back, and he'd done a slip for each of us so we could sit there with our slip. Now it's all online, of course. It's rare that you go down to the bookies, although I do quite like a little trip to the bookies.
I went into a bookies for the first time in about 10 years. Well, not 10 years, for absolutely ages. And it was very evocative, I mean, if you ignore the addicts in the corner, which you feel very sorry for.
It's hard to.
It's quite hard to. But yeah, if you go in and you go in with, I put an accumulator on for £1. It was great. I tell you what I miss, actually. I don't know if Ellen Road has this anymore. The Hawthorn certainly doesn't. There used to be a little bookie stand in the stands in the stadium. They don't have them anymore. I used to love those.
Yeah, where you could go do your acca or do your little slips.
Or you bet for the game, just like first goal scorer Robbie Earnshaw in the, I don't know, whatever. I used to love that. They don't do that.
Now, obviously, we came together ahead of the Cheltenham Gold Cup, and we had our little wagers, and we did that, and Shelter Charity benefited from £39.63 as a result of that.
Beautiful.
This time, it's personal. This is about the Grand National, and I thought it'd be quite good to do a guide to how to pick a horse. Now, James, you're not a massive bettor, are you?
Yeah, when I was a kid, I used to do Grand National bets every
year.
Did you? Yeah. But that's about it.
But you've never had an online betting account?
No, I just made one.
Did you?
Who have you gone for?
I'm currently trying to select, so I figured we could do it, and I'll place a bet in this episode.
Very good, cool. Based on this little pin stickers guide advice. Now,
which betting company did you go for?
Paddy Power.
Yeah, the lads from Paddy Power, who have probably one of the best marketing teams in the country. They're very good.
Very good. Now, we should say, I don't know if we're governed by any broadcasting rules. We probably are. But we probably should say that gambling is addictive and that you should always stop when the fun stops. And it's really good to set yourself limits. And you can actually, on these apps, and maybe you should do this, James, you can set daily limits. You can set monthly limits. You can set per bet limits. All really good ideas so that you don't get lured into it, because it's very easily done. And I think for me, I mean, I get nervous if I put any bet on over £5. I get nervous. So I always bet very, very small. And it's just as fun. I think it's more fun. Because actually you just...
It's like playing the lottery, but you've actually got a chance of winning it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. And actually what's good about doing small bets is that you've only something to gain. You don't feel like you're massively losing. Whereas if you're going into a bet where you actually are about to lose £1,000 but could win 48 grand, I don't know. I just feel like you're about to lose a lot of money.
Yeah. I mean, £1,000. I mean, you just play within your means. I think that's the overriding rule, isn't it? And when the fun stops, stop, definitely, because it can be a problem. But it's a bit of fun, isn't it?
Yeah. So, full disclosure, we're recording this on Friday, and the Grand National is tomorrow, Saturday, or hopefully as you're listening today, because we'll get this out tomorrow morning ahead to help those people who might be looking how to pick a horse.
Because I don't know if you know, but Stage Door Athletic has always had the finger on the pulse of national racing, horse racing.
So much.
It's
And
up there.
literally, our millions of listeners now will be waiting for the release before they buy their Racing Post or tabloid newspaper to choose their horse. And then we'll come together briefly again with a new app on Tuesday just to see if we were successful, not just on the Grand National, but it's also Masters weekend.
Masters weekend.
What did I say?
Masters. It's
Did
the Masters.
I? God,
Yeah,
I've
you're so
assimilated.
wakey. You
I've
can't say
assimilated. Oh
Masters.
my God.
Masters.
Yeah, US Masters Golf. I
Yes.
think it is Masters Golf. US Masters Golf.
Masters.
Yeah, but it is like
The
much
Masters,
like picking
yeah.
a horse. Frankly, the fields
Yes.
of these big. So we'll try and draw tenuous parallels between those two things. But so picking a horse first. How would you normally go about it, Jet? We had an insight into this a little bit around Cheltenham. What's your normal approach?
4 things:
Yeah,
name, trainer, jockey, form.
very good.
Sometimes in that order, actually, as well.
Yeah.
Obviously, if there's anything personal to do with the name, I'm going to go through the superficial things first.
Yeah.
If there's something to do with the name, then you got to put 50p on that. You never know
Yeah.
if they're an outsider or whatever. And then you're looking at trainers.
Yeah.
Now, let's go through the big ones. Henry de Bromhead,
Yes.
Willie Mullins,
The biggest.
the biggest of the biggest.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, they're like the Champions League of...
JP McManus.
McManus, yes.
Is he no, he's an owner, isn't he?
Was he an owner?
Yeah. Big Nicky Henderson,
Nicky
big
Henderson, great
big
shout.
trainer with
Yeah.
lots of form at the National. And Lucinda Russell, who I think has
Yes.
won the National as well and has got good form at this race. And then there's sort of, and Gordon Elliott, huge trainer. People might
Huge.
know him because he was infamously photographed, sat on a dead horse that had been shot, and
Yeah.
he got banned, or certainly his reputation really suffered as a result of that. But
Not cool.
he is very successful horse trainer as well. And then there are younger ones like Claire Balding's brother, someone Balding, and
There's loads. Emmett Mullins, Gordon, Dan Skelton's a good trainer as well.
yeah.
The Skeltons, very good.
Is
Yeah.
Emmett related to the other Mullins?
Willie,
Yeah.
he might be, you know.
Could be, yeah. Could be another
Yeah, good
dynasty. on the way.
question. Very good question.
So
yeah.
yeah, trainer's very important, and then jockey's a little bit less so, but still the same. So jockeys, Rachel Blackmore is obviously Queen of Racing.
Yeah.
Harry Skelton, Harry Cobden, and obviously Danny Mullins and all that. They're fantastic jockeys. So those are the 3 I
Yeah.
would go for. And then of course
Paul
forward.
Townend is
Townend.
Willie Mullins' jockey, so he's huge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Derek Fox, who's racing Corach Rambler, who is probably going to win it this year. But anyway, we'll
Yeah.
talk about that in a minute.
Yeah.
And then you're looking at form. Now, form is a little bit confusing for me when I started racing. I was like, why are there so many numbers? What does P mean? What does U mean? What does
Yeah.
any of the dashes mean? All very confusing. But if you do a little bit of research, it does make a lot more sense. And it does help, actually, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really does. Well, on most race cards, what you'll see is the horse number. And in the Grand National, this is quite helpful to look because often they are numbered in the order in which they entered the race, and the more likely winners entered early. So actually, you can, as a rough guide, the higher the number, the less chance they're likely to have. Certainly the highest numbers because they've come in late, often as replacements. Then underneath the number, you will see often, like what you were talking about, Jack, the form, which will list a number or a letter which describes what the horse did in the last 6 races.
Correct.
And they have different meanings, don't they?
They do. Do you want to? I say them and you tell me what they are.
Yes.
P.
P means that it pulled up.
Correct. So it didn't complete the race.
Yes.
U.
That means that it was That means it unseated the jockey.
Correct.
So maybe over a jump, or the saddle came loose, or you'll see often where a horse will take a jump and then it doesn't land very well, and the jockey will come off.
Or if the jockey forgot to leave the iron on or something, just hopped off the horse,
Yeah.
ran back and everything.
Yeah. Not to be confused with irons, which is also another name for horseshoes.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah. But then that could be another reason they run off.
F.
It fell. The horse fell during
It
that
felt
race.
it over. It did a fall over, silly boy.
It did fall over.
It did a fall over, sorry, silly boy. And then there's B. What does B mean?
I think it was brought down by another runner.
Oh, okay.
So it might be a horse that's gone stray, cuts across it, and it brought the horse down, or something like that. Or indeed, in a scandal, a horse with a jockey sort of took its path. That would probably lead to an investigation. So it probably means that if you do see a B, it probably means the horse wasn't shit. It was the victim of something unfortunate.
Yeah. Like a just stop oil process or something.
Yes.
What dash? Dash means didn't run, did it?
Dash means that it separates the form from the previous season. So you might see, so the latest
that's a forward
ones,
slash though, isn't it?
that means it missed an entire season.
That's the one. Okay, that's where I was confused. Okay, carry on. Sorry.
Yes. So, for example, the numbers on the right are the most recent races, and the numbers on the left are the furthest back. So you'll probably see if you might say 4-5 dash, which means the 4-5 were last season, and then you might see 3 numbers to the right of the dash, which means they're this season, the latest ones. And then the only other one is R, which you might see, which means it refused to race. Sometimes, it starts, it's up at the lineup at the start, but it just didn't set off.
I'm not in the mood.
Come out of the traps.
I'm off, lads. Not
Sometimes
which is
not
an
in the mood,
indication to the horse's temperament, perhaps. If you see that, it just might be a little bit of a temperamental horse.
Yes.
Does that
very
make
much
sense,
so.
James?
Yeah.
Jimmy, did that make sense? Yeah?
Yeah.
Cool.
Very good. So that's a good indication of form. I think the time, that dash and the slash are quite helpful because, it's recent form you want to look into. I think are going to be more indication. Then obviously you'll see a little graphic of the colours of the horse, which for some people is enough. They might just see a pattern or a colour that they like, but is also really helpful when you're watching the race.
Yeah.
You'll see the horse's name. You'll see then the jockey and the trainer. Often the jockey is listed first. It might literally also be next to a J, and the trainer with a T. And then you'll often see the horse's age. Now, often races are sectioned into age brackets. They might just be young horses or older horses or within a certain bracket. So often they're brought together, to try and breed some sort of parity. I don't think the National does have an age.
No, not on big races.
Specific
Big races,
thing, I don't think.
In big races, they're usually jumped up and it's around about the same age for all of them. I mean, if you get a lot of point-to-point races, they're horses that are either incredibly young or towards the end of being put out to pastures.
Yes.
So, you've got 12, 11-year-olds and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Now, the other big thing you'll see is weight. And this is something I don't really understand massively.
No,
I don't understand any of this massively, but this is something I've had to look into. Do you know what the weight is?
The weight of what they're carrying in the race, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
So you'll see often 2 figures with a dash. So it might say 11.6. So that's 11 stone, 6 pounds. And the weight, often referred to as the handicap, is some races are called handicaps and some are not handicaps. The difference is, if it is a handicap race, the handicap committee has allocated the horse to carry some weight in the saddle.
Mm-hmm.
The objective of that is to try and mitigate the quality of the race. In an ideal world, meaning if all the horses carried their handicap versus talent, that they should, in theory, all finish in a line.
Yeah.
That never happens, of course.
Obviously not.
Because some horses overcome the handicap, it doesn't matter. The principle being that, if you're carrying weight, it's harder to jump or it's harder to run fast. And so the more weight they carry, so they try and give the really good horses a bit more weight to try and slow them down a little bit. So when you're looking for a horse, if you're into weight, a good thing to do would be to look at good horses that haven't quite got the handicap they should. Often because they're young horses with potential, so the handicaptor wouldn't limit them, but actually the punters are saying, do you know what, this horse is really good, and it's underweight. They haven't handicapped it because it hasn't actually demonstrably proven it's a winner yet. So they're the good horses because they're getting away with it a little bit.
Yeah, again, they're on usually races that aren't massive, so they won't be in the Gold Cup isn't a handicap or
No.
the Grand National, obviously, but races that
No, the
are
Grand
Grand
National is a
National
handicap.
is
Yeah, it is a
handicapped.
is
handicap.
a handicap. Oh,
Yeah,
right,
yeah,
okay.
yeah, yeah. So you
Wow.
will see the weights of that. And the final thing to keep an eye out, oh, a couple more things, but the
Go
big
on.
thing, of course, is the odds. The odds
Yes.
that have been allocated by the
They're
bookmakers,
important.
because this is giving you an indication of, how likely it is to win based on people who really have studied the form and done it with spreadsheets and computers, etc. Now, that's not a sure sign because favourites don't always win, but the shorter the odds, the shorter means something like 2-1. So the figure on the right-hand side is what you bet, and the figure on the left is what you would get having bet the figure on the right-hand side. So if it's 4-1, for every £1 you put on, you'll get £4 back. You might see, and therefore 40-1 is long odds. Put on £1, you get 40 back.
Not long enough, Rob. Not long enough, mate.
That'd be
No.
lovely, of course. And therefore, if
Yeah.
you put on £2, you get 80, etc. Plus your stake. You always get your stake back when you win. So if you put £1 on 40-1, you win £41. Your £40 plus your £1 back. Now you might see odds sometimes that say things like 5-11. That means it really is a favourite, and you'd have to put on 11 quid to get 5 back.
Oof.
Crazy. So
Very
they're
sure
saying,
of,
look,
yeah.
actually, they're really trying to put you off betting on it, really, because the bookmakers don't want to pay you because it's so short odds. It's in their eyes, it's almost guaranteed to win. So they don't want to make it attractive to bet because the bookmakers don't want to give you their money. The
Yeah.
long odds, 40-1, they're saying, why do you put some money on this? Because they know it's unlikely they'll have to pay out.
Not long enough for me. It's got to be longer than that. Outsiders, you've got to lump on the outsider. No, I'm joking.
So hopefully that will help. And then you'll often get the comments from a punter or a guide or an expert, an ex-jockey or a trainer with some comments underneath. So they're the things to keep an eye out for.
Now, all of this is obviously completely academic because the idea of horse racing is sometimes anything can happen. So looking at the past, let's say 5 years, last year, Corrit Ramba, favourite, won it. Fair enough.
Yeah.
The year before that, Noble Yeats, outsider at 50-1. His
Lovely.
form going into it was 4-6-9, pulled up 2-9.
Yeah.
So the race before he won the national, he finished 9th.
Yeah.
So anything can happen. But what you're trying to do is trying to give yourself the best opportunity to be able to make an informed or an educated guess, at least. Plus, getting into the statistics of it, it's great fun, isn't it? If you're a bit of an anorak and you want to have a look at the form,
time
it's
and
great.
you want to look into it, that's lovely.
It's
An
great
anorak.
fun. Yeah,
But the
it is.
vast
Though. It's good
majority
fun.
of us will sort of come out a different way. I mean, the thing to say about the National specifically, one of the reasons people love it is because it is a lottery. Because
Yeah,
it's
it
a
is.
lottery because the jumps are really big. So the size of the jumps indicate, and the difficulty of the course and the length of the course, they go twice round, means that really there's so many factors can get involved beyond the form of the horse. So when you work back from, like, this is a jump race, big, high, in fact, this is a steeplechase. So
Yeah,
that's the
it's huge.
highest jumps around. Jump would be a normal size fence. Hurdle is a smaller little fence. And then you've got flat racing as well, which is like a speed dash. And of course, when you go down that range, the more predictable it is. You know how fast a horse is on form. Hurdles, it's really about timing. Can they get over a little jump? Jumps, much more difficult, more lottery. Steeplechase, anyone's guess.
Yeah, they're massive. They're absolutely
Yeah.
massive. How many feet are they? Do you know?
Oh, I
How
don't
big
know.
a steeplechase is? Shall I have a quick Google? I think.
Yeah.
How high are? Yeah, they're absolutely huge.
Are
So the
they?
chair. So this is the other
that's
thing
the
as
big
well.
one,
So
isn't it?
yeah, the chair's the big one. So the Grand National fences, they all have names,
Yeah.
much like I don't know, Monaco race circuit. So these jumps are absolutely huge. The highest, the chair, is 5'2". So that's only like
Wow, that's as high as
What?
you.
that's like 1 inch taller than me. It's absolutely massive. It's huge. But 5'2". I mean, a horse. I mean, how tall are horses?
Oh, they're like between 6 and 7 foot to their body and higher than that
5
in their head.
5 feet is massive, man. I mean, I
Yeah.
couldn't jump that.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, they're really big, and of course they've become smaller in recent years because of all the
Well, they've had
controversy
to, 'cause-
around horses dying, etc.
Yeah, it can be quite dangerous. But yes, I'm sure they'll be fine. And they're
So
big
you talked about your methodology. I will generally pick 4 horses in the national.
Mm-hmm.
One will be my birthday, so whatever is number 26, I'll pick.
Nice.
So often it's a longer odds. It's quite nice that sometimes.
Picked a good one.
Then, what is number 26 this year, James?
Meeting of the Waters.
What are the odds on that?
It's 9-1.
Oh, you see, that's
my
all
God,
right.
you
That's
got
a
that's a
nice little
chance.
random one. Often that's becomes my outsider. I'll be drawn to a name. I'll just look through and think there's a name I like. So obviously this year I'm drawn to Mr. Incredible.
Why?
Yeah.
Why, Rob? Why on earth are you drawn to Mr. Incredible? Tell the listeners.
I don't know. Just something draws me there. I don't know.
Interesting.
Have you noticed, Jack? On that there is Foxy Jacks
Who do you
racing
think?
this year.
Who do you think my outside bet is this year, mate? As soon as I saw it, Foxy
Brilliant.
Jacks. He's at 51 on Sky Bet. 50 to 1. There's a couple of quid on that.
Very
of course.
good. Then I will definitely keep one slot open that I'll put on just before the race, which will be based on what I hear from pundits. I will listen to pundits on 5 Live, on the telly tomorrow, and the ones I trust are the ones that just sing out a little louder in my ear. I will definitely have a go on that, and then I will have a look and choose one that's actually in with a chance based on me looking at the form as we've just described. So that's my 4 bets at the national, and then I might end up just going, oh, suddenly I just saw that one and I walked past a blackbird and I can't now not put it on. So I'll do something like that. Not
good.
blackbird, a magpie.
There's some very weird and wonderful ways why people pick their horses.
Yeah.
And that's some glorious ways. Yeah, I usually put 4 on. Foxy Jacks is obviously my shoe-in, my outsider.
Yeah.
I'll not lump on, but I'll put a little bit more on one of the favourites.
Right.
And then go one middle tier, I think, as well. But I think I can't look past Corach Rambler again, who won it last year. He's 7 to 1 at the moment. Lucinda Russell's fantastic trainer. Derek Fox is the jockey.
Yeah.
Form coming into it, it's okay. 5-3-3, 5th, 3rd, and 3rd. But I think he'll show up again, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So there'll be a lump on that at 7 to 1 at the moment. Rachel Blackmore is my jockey. She's just queen of horse racing. She's riding Manila Indo.
Yeah.
Trained by Henry de Bromhead at 11 to 1 at the moment. That'll be one of mine. And then Foxy Jacks. But I haven't picked I also kind of look at the colours as well. I like the colours.
Yeah.
So anything blue and white, I'll go for that as well because of the babies.
Yes. Okay. So fair enough. I'm drawn to I Am Maximus, which is Willie Mullins. That's second favourite. I don't know. I'll tell you why I'm drawn to that in a minute, but I am drawn to that for a few reasons. But not least, it's second favourite. It's in with a chance. It's had good form. It's had some good form. It was first, last out, 3rd, 4th, first previously. So that's good showing this season. And that's a really good training jockey duo. I mean, on Corach Rambler, it's very rare for horses to win back-to-back 2 years in a row. So invariably, you'll find that the favourite is someone who's done last year because there's very little form guide for these big races apart from what they've done previously on this course, etc.
Tiger Roll did it, Rob.
Tiger Roll did do it in 2018 and 19.
Tiger Roll did it.
And
they're talking a lot about Corach Rambler. I saw them race yesterday at Aintree in a warm-up race.
Yeah.
He's looking good. Good.
Yeah.
But yeah, who knows?
So, James, with all that insight and our tips, where's your head at?
Well, as you guys were speaking, before you said he was the second favourite, I was eyeing up I Am Maximus as my thinking about it bet.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I'm going to bet on 3 horses.
Okay.
So I think I'm going to go with him as my study bet.
Yeah.
And then in terms of liking the colours,
right,
I am going to go for number 7 because purple's my favourite colour.
Excellent.
I like the stripes. And then for absolute
who is number 7?
And number 7 is Corach
Rambler.
Yeah.
Ooh, okay. Yeah. So that is the favourite.
But my outside one is number 16. Ain't That a Shame? Because I think that would be fun if he won or lost. If he lost, you can just say, ain't that a shame?
Exactly, James.
Very
Very much
good. So that currently around 50 to 1. It's a Henry de Bromhead horse. Jack's already mentioned them. So yeah, okay. Well, I like the look of those, James. I mean, you're in with a shout where you've got a couple of actual favourites and then you're 50 to 1. The thing to bear in mind, and this is always definitely a couple of things to bear in mind when you're betting on big races like this. First of all is, do you take the odds as they're represented when you're placing your bet, or do you take the SP, which means the starting price? So you can either take the odds because you like the look of them now and that locks in the price that you're betting on, or
50
you can
to 1 Foxy Jacks was when I put that money on. He's now 25 to 1, so his odds are getting shorter
there's
and
an
shorter.
example. The odds are getting shorter because people are backing them. Often towards a race, a lot of the odds get a little bit shorter. So the SP means that you'll take whatever the odds are when they set off the race. So that's a choice that you have to take, an extra little risk to take. You pay tax on your bet, so your winnings are always tax-free. The other thing to bear in mind is whether you go for a win or each way.
Each way, yes.
A win
Explain
means
that,
that you only get paid if you win. The horse comes first. If you go for each way, it means that you'll get a quarter of the odds you put on. So if you put on racing a horse for 40 to 1, you'll get 10 to 1 paid if it's a place. That's second, third, fourth. Or in these big races, a lot of the bookies, to try and compete for your money, will offer up to 6 and 7 places for the Grand National. So they'll pay out, but check, sometimes they might not be paying a quarter odds, they might be paying fifth odds or 6 odds down there.
Yeah, they change.
But just so that you get a little bit of cash back, even if you come in the
James,
later places.
what's Paddy Power playing out on places? Sky Bet's paying 6 instead of 4 places. Sky Bet at the moment.
I've got here each way 6 places.
Yeah,
Okay,
nice. Sounds
cool.
about right.
And I would highly recommend you go for each way in the National. It's such a lottery, and it's nice to, even if your horse is favourite, it could easily stumble and end up fourth. So,
There's a very
it's nice to get the money.
Yeah,
I
good
wish you
point.
said that 30 seconds ago.
Have you done win on all of
Did
them?
you win? Oh, no. Just cover your bets. Cover your bets. Yeah.
yeah.
There's a very good price boots on Sky Bet as I'm looking at the moment. Correct Rambler, I Am Maximus, and Meeting of the Waters all to place was 9 to 1, now 11 to 1.
Oh, nice, yeah.
That's a great little bet, I think.
Yeah.
You can make accumulators on single races as well, like that one.
Yeah,
You could
yeah.
put 4. You could guess the top 6 places if you really wanted
Yeah.
to. I mean, the odds have been massive to give you a little bit more chance of more a win. But basically, just enjoy it. It's a fantastic race. It's really nice and long. Get down with your pals, have a few beers, and build up the atmosphere for it. It's really good fun. Everybody loves the Grand National.
Yeah. So now quickly, we'll just also, because as I say, we're recording this on the Friday, what is your tip for the Masters, Jack?
Again, it's more of an educated guess. Also, the Masters started yesterday on time of recording, so I'm slightly a little bit. But I would like to say that before the Masters started, I did put £5 on Scotty Scheffler, who is currently second at the moment. Yeah, his form going into the tournament has been good.
Yeah.
I always put essentially an each way bet on Rory. So if he finishes top 8. I put about £5 on that, get a bit of money back. Rory has to win it at some point, but does he have to? No. Do I want him to? Yes. So I always put a bet on Rory. An outright winner, 33 to 1. I've put £3 or £4 on £3.80 actually on Will Zalatoris to finish in the top 8.
And where is he at the minute?
He is currently 2 under par, so not too bad. Rory's 1 under. It's a steady start. He posted 71. So yeah, they're placed, but Scotty Scheffler's got a real chance this year.
Yeah.
And his form's going into it, but yeah, not too bad. But we're currently winning is Bryson DeChambeau. Have you got Bryson on?
So, as you say, hopefully you're listening to this on Saturday. There'll be 2 rounds in, the final 2 rounds to come. People will have made the cut, so that'll be interesting to see where we're at. I put on my bet yesterday ahead of the Masters on Max Homa.
Interesting.
Now, Max Homa really stood out to me at the Ryder Cup. I thought he was America's best player there, and he really held up under the pressure of those final rounds when Europe were really applying pressure. I think he was the standout player, so that was my rationale for it. I got 80 to 1 odds on him.
Oh, that's tasty. And he
And
is
I
where,
put him
Rob?
on He's now joint third as things stand at 5 under, and his odds are down to about 10-1 now.
I think that's changed currently. He's on the 17th hole. I'm looking at time of recording. He's now tied second with Scotty Scheffler. He's in the 17th. He's 6 under.
Oh my goodness. Okay,
So
so
that's a good
this is
shout.
really, really interesting. So that's, oh wow. Okay, so that's really, really exciting because I put on £5 each way for that.
Whoa!
Which was big, but I just had a feeling at 80-1, so I would win £490 if they came in. As it stands, Paddy Power offer me cash out of £47.82. So on my £10 stake, I could just cash it in now for £47, or I stay in the game to potentially win £490.
This is another conversation about betting with cash out. You've got to let it run. I don't care what anybody says. You've got to let it run. You've got to let it run.
Yeah. But this is what I mentioned earlier. It's interesting because you mentioned Tiger Roll. Another way to make betting choices is omens. Now, in 2019, Tiger Woods won the US Masters, and Tiger Roll won the Grand National.
Yeah.
So I scanned through the National lineup and the Masters lineup, and I've put a double on I Am Maximus and Max Homer. And I went £3 on that, and if that comes in, I'll win £382. So if I Am Maximus won the National and Horner won the US Masters, I would win £850.
That's rent sorted in your Clapham flat sorted for the month.
That'd be amazing, wouldn't it?
That would be amazing.
Yeah,
that would be absolutely brilliant.
I can't see any sort of horsey golfer doubles. I don't know if you guys can spot any, but very quickly. But I can't see any other little omens. But that would be a nice one.
Yeah. So
brilliant.
we'll see what happens, ladies and gents.
Yes.
Yeah, we've got our bets all lined up. Good luck. Yeah, and we'll see. James, have you gone for any Masters while we're here?
I've not actually, but I will research beforehand, and I might put a bet on.
Yeah, great research. Good luck.
Good luck. And on Tuesday's episode, we'll briefly just what's the word?
Debrief.
We'll debrief the results. All the best.
Yeah, good luck.
I got a horse right here. His name is Belvedere.
Did you do that with me at drama school?
No, have you done it, guys and dolls?
We did it. I think. Was I second or third year? I think I was first year, and they did it in third year.
Yeah,
bloody brilliant! I loved it.
Such a great show.
Great show.
That's a great song, yeah, as well.
Have you seen it in town at the bridge?
Yeah, I have. Yeah.
Is it any good?
I really, really enjoyed it. Yeah, it's a good show. I mean, it's bulletproof. It's a brilliant.
Yeah, it is.
Show. You can't mess it up. But we're talking about production at the Bridge Theatre, and it's a sort of semi-promenade production.
Yeah,
where you can move around the space and the scenes happen in front of you and on these platforms that go up and down. Maybe that's a whole other episode.
We should go and see that. But in the meantime, I got the horse right here. His name is Harvey.